Hello everyone, welcome back to the SHEgress Chronicles as we are going through how to egress your way out of the US. All right, so now that we have visited the continent, we are back in the West and we have some decisions to make, right? So if you have followed through the journey, you know that on your visit, you should have visited at least your top 2 countries, okay? Now, if you visit more than 2, by all means. But if you just visited your top 2, now that you're back home, what you're gonna do is go through your spreadsheet because you should have been updating that throughout your visit. You wanna look at the pros and cons to see what fits you best, right? And it's not just going to be simply the bottom line in terms of which one is cheaper, right? Because some places that are cheaper may not be the best for you based on your lifestyle, your personality, your vibe and everything, right? So you have to really reflect back on your experience in both countries and then compare it against the hard numbers and then make an informed decision. You may find that neither country works well for you, and if that's the case, there are other countries to consider. So you may have to go back to the drawing board, start to research some other countries to see, okay, these 2 that I thought would work didn't work, so what other ones can I start to look at? And then you may need to plan a second trip out to the continent based on that research, all right? So definitely take time to really go through the numbers very carefully, go through your thoughts on it, have discussions with your family if you went with your family, and figure out what would be the best fit for you. The next thing is you wanna set a firm time frame for your move, okay? If you're actually intent on wrapping things up in the US and moving to the continent, you want to set a firm time frame, okay? So that time frame doesn't have to be something that happens right away. It could be maybe a year from now or a year and a half from now. Whatever the time frame is, make sure that you have it set, okay? So that way you have set goals that you're working towards in regards to your time frame, okay? So that can include making decisions about your job. So you can explore options such as maybe you can work remotely with your job full-time, or you can work remotely part-time. If not, you have to decide what will you do for your income. As we discussed in part 2, you have to be looking at passive income. You have to look at making income online. So all of these decisions you have to make in regards to your set timeline, okay? Additionally, things like, are you going to rent or sell your house if you own your home? I will link the video below where I discuss a couple of tips on that. Are you going to sell your car? So you're going to make decisions on all of that. Now, after you have your set time frame, so let's just use an example. Let's say you come back to the West and you say, okay, 6 months from now, I'm going to head out. So what you're going to do is you're then going to need to apply for your visa, okay? Now, I recommend applying for your visa while you're in the US at your local embassy. However, depending on what country you go to, you can get your visa upon arrival. So you would need to research that, but even if you can get your visa on arrival, I still would recommend applying for it beforehand because it's just less hassle. And usually, if you apply beforehand, you can get a longer term visa versus just a short term that you would get upon arrival, okay? So if you're gonna apply for your visa beforehand, this is gonna be based on your set time frame. So if you're going by the 6 months, go ahead, apply for your visa. You would have to mail in your passport, and you then would have to book your flight and your hotel before you send in your application. So all of that has to be with your application when you send it in. So yeah, you would have to book all of that and send it all the information together. If you have a set time frame, I would move forward with that. The earlier you book your flights and your hotel, the cheaper they will be. So the earlier, the better is what I say. Let's still use a 6 months time frame, okay? So between now and 6 months, you can do some other things to help prepare for your move. So you can set up your Google phone. This is one thing I personally did not do, which I will do when I go back to visit the US, but I still have my US phone with me and I have to pay monthly for that, and that definitely is not the best scenario, okay? Google phone is free, and you can use that phone number for everything. And the reason why you need a US phone number is because whenever you need to log into your US accounts, your bank accounts, or anything else where you need to log into, the system will detect that you are outside of the country, okay? So they will then send you a text to confirm that you are who you are, or they will call you. So you need to have a phone number that can be accessed that is a US phone number so that you can access your accounts and whatever information that you need to do. Make sure that you transfer, you put that phone number on all of your accounts so that they know if they need to call, that's the phone number they need to call. I would also transfer your mailing address to a virtual mailbox or a trusted family friend's house, okay? There's a lot of virtual mailboxes out there now that do cost you monthly or yearly, or you could just transfer it to a family or friend depending on if you trust them with your personal information or not, all right? Now, in the meantime, it's very important that you continue along the steps that we discussed in part 2, okay? That is getting rid of most items, okay? You should already have at least 60% of your things gone by now, okay? So the remaining 40%, you need to focus on, are you gonna donate them? Are you gonna sell them? What are you gonna do? Clear out your space as much as possible so that you're not waiting until month 6 to now try to clear out your space, okay? All of that should be done very intentionally early so that you have less stress by the time you're ready to go, all right? You wanna also look at cutting out any other excess bills and subscriptions so you get your expenses down to the bare minimum, okay? For example, any extra accounts that you're holding on to when you know you're going to be leaving, go ahead and cut those out. You don't need them, so just get rid of them. Check out your savings. You need to set specific goals for your savings, okay? So if you're on the 6-month time frame, you should say, okay, every month I want to save, let's say $500 every month. How are you going to do that? So set goals, and then you have to make sure you know how you're going to achieve those goals every month, okay, for your savings. Because your savings is very important. As I discussed in part 2, you should have at least the 6 months of savings up front to get you through that initial time period when you move, okay? And then the last point is notifying friends and family. So depending on who they are, you may want to notify them early or later. It all depends. For me, I only notified my parents and immediate family members a little bit earlier, but not very early. And everyone else I didn't notify until the last minute. So you have to be very careful with this because you have to be aware that people will have very strong opinions and they may have some negative things to say about your decision. And for me, I didn't want that to affect my decision. So depending on your relationship, you can choose to notify them earlier or later, but it's always good to notify people, let them know that, listen, I will be moving, and also to spend some quality time with them before you leave, right? Those are the things I would focus on. The main things here are being intentional with your passive income or your income online, getting those things set up prior to leaving, and then boosting your savings, setting a goal for that so that by the time you hit that airplane, you have all of that lined up and you're ready to go. And check out the visa process. Some visa process take longer than others depending on which country you're going to. So you don't want to wait until the last minute to apply for your visa. Get that done early. So as soon as you have your set time frame, go ahead and apply for your visa and get that out of the way. All right, so I will see you guys in the next one. Talk to you soon. Bye.